Hi everyone, and welcome to my Monday series. This week I'm going to be talking about dealing with cravings. So when most people think of fat loss, brain chemistry is actually one of the farthest things from their mind. However, the body only goes where the brain will let it. So the brain holds the key to allow control over willpower. If you neglect the brain, and the willpower will instead control you. So, becoming educated on how to balance the brain chemistry can make a huge difference between long-term transformation and body changes. So, weight loss and fat loss are not the same. Weight loss methods actually focus exclusively on calories, neglecting the impact the brain has on the body change. On the other hand, fat loss focuses on hormones, including the brain hormones called neurotransmitters. Remember, brain hormones actually impact hunger, mood, cravings, energy, motivation, and our focus. Now, keeping in mind that weight loss and fat loss are not the same, we're going to go over the four major neurotransmitters that fat loss seekers need to know. So the four major neurotransmitters we are going to understand today are called dopamine, acetylcholine, GABA, and serotonin. So it's actually together that these four brain chemicals interact to influence personality traits, energy, and fat burning. Now, dopamine and acetylcholine can be thought of as stimulating, energizing chemicals, okay? While GABA and serotonin are actually a little bit more relaxing. So here's a brief primer on these key brain chemicals and how they impact your fat burning efforts. So dopamine actually energizes the brain and is key in allowing us to experience pleasure. Dopamine allows us to stay focused, energized, and motivated. It keeps us from procrastinating and allows us to feel enjoyment from the world around us. Too much or too little dopamine can actually cause problems. Those with too little dopamine have lower energy levels. They have a poor focus and actually find it difficult to stick to a schedule. These individuals are often the type of people who use food and stimulants to self-medicate themselves. So those with higher than normal dopamine signaling also suffer and may be overly focused to the point of compulsion. Now, unbalanced dopamine usually causes cravings for sugar and stimulants, especially coffee and chocolate. The goal for fat loss is to have a dopamine signaling structure that actually regulates and balances the system with sustained energy, focus, and motivation. Now, moving on to acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is mainly involved in processing speed of the brain, and it actually manifests itself in the ability to recall events, numbers, and names, quickly solve problems, and actually resist brain fatigue. Those with low acetylcholine function will frequently, most probably, forget numbers and be unable to recall a name despite actually knowing the face. So many often they forget where they left their keys, where they left their wallets, or where they parked their car. These individuals will often crave fat, since fat is a rich source of choline, which is one of the actual building blocks of acetylcholine. A craving for fried foods, hamburgers, pizza, as well as a love of creamy desserts like cheesecake and ice cream may be a sign of low acetylcholine. Next up, we have serotonin. So this neurotransmitter impacts how we feel about ourselves and the world around us. People who have high serotonin function by waking up and they look into the mirror and they like what they see. Serotonin gives us that sense of well-being, happiness, and confidence in the world. Now, low serotonin, on the other hand, is associated with insomnia, depression, and low self-esteem. Low serotonin often manifests itself as cravings for starches and salty foods like breads, pasta, chips, and pretzels. So these people often feel unsatisfied if starch is not part of their meal. And they actually struggle more than others if they attempt a low carbohydrate diet. Next, we're going to talk about GABA. Now, GABA gives us the ability to quickly shut down and relax. Those with strong GABA personalities don't seem to stress too much. They tend to be more relaxed and carefree, and they often seem content and relaxed compared to others around them. Those with low GABA function feel an inability to shut down, and they often suffer from anxiety. People with GABA imbalance often eat way too much. They also eat way too fast. So people low in GABA frequently seek out starch, but are really content eating anything as long as there is a lot of it to fill them up. Low GABA people are emotional eaters in the truest sense of the word. Okay, now let's talk about balancing our brain chemistry. For participants of the fat loss lifestyle, it is hormones like these neurotransmitters that hold the key to true body change. So we often think that the way we are set in stone, that people cannot actually change. However, it is not uncommon for people to lament on how they used to be. So we call this the used to be syndrome. And it is a sure sign that your brain chemistry actually needs some help. So if you used to be motivated, fit, focused, happy, and relaxed, then chances are the real issue is that you once had a more balanced brain chemistry than you currently do today. So refined sugar, rich diets, excessive stimulant use, persistent stress, and even too much exercise can cause brain chemistry issues. And if it gets bad enough, your doctor may end up prescribing like a mood drug for you, to help you feel happier, or a drug that's going to help you chill out and relax. So mood regulating drugs have actions that attempt to alter your brain chemistry by blocking the natural recycling or the reuptake of these chemicals by the nerves. So unfortunately, these drugs do not help your body make more of the valuable chemicals, and instead they provide a short-term band-aid to the actually permanently long-term issue. So these brain chemicals can be reliably made in the body through amino acids, naturally found in your food or concentrated in nutritional supplements. So by first identifying what brain chemicals you have an imbalance of, you can tailor your intake of specific foods or supplements to actually help restore your brain function, control your cravings, and improve your motivation, your focus, as well as your energy. So if you want to know what neurotransmitter you may be low in, take the brief 4-question quiz that I'm about to do. And you choose the one letter in the question that best describes you. If none describe you, then just leave the question blank. If more than one describes you, then feel free to choose them all. So 1, we're going to talk about I crave. So in the sentence, I crave A, chocolate and or coffee and or sugar. B, I love fatty things like cream cheese, guacamole, and chocolate mousse. C, I love bread, pasta, and salty snacks. D, I don't care what it is, I just want enough of it to make me feel full. Okay, question 2, at school or at work. A, I find it difficult to stay focused, I have drops in my energy, and I procrastinate. B, I can never remember what I just did. I may have to redial the phone multiple times and can be slow to actually catch on to things. C, people can easily annoy me. I usually trust my ideas over others and sometimes feel others are to get me out. D, I get anxious and worry about every little thing so much that I sometimes have trouble getting things done myself. Okay, question 3. Exercise makes me feel A, more energized and powerful. B, smarter and more creative. C, happier and more attractive. D, more calm with less worries. And finally, question 4, if I feel depressed, it is most likely to be A, a feeling of frustration that I can't ever stick to a plan or schedule or fulfill promises to myself. B, a feeling of mental slowness, mental frustration, or feelings that I'm just not as smart as others. C, I am just sad without any good reason. I often wish I looked different or was someone sexier, smarter, or actually more likable. And D, an anxious, worrying type of depression. Anxiety rather depression more defines me. Okay, so now I want you to total up your answers. And if any letter was chosen 2 or more times, then there's an actual good chance that you have a deficiency in that neurotransmitter. Keep in mind that it can actually happen often. You have one deficiency or more, and you may actually have none at all. Okay, so here are how the letters break down. If you chose mostly A's, then you have a deficiency in dopamine. If you chose mostly B's, you have a deficiency in acetylcholine. Letter C, a deficiency in serotonin. And finally, mostly D's gives you a deficiency in Gaba. So feel free to do that quick little quiz anytime that you need to, or anytime that you're feeling that you're struggling and you want to learn more about your brain chemistry. And I hope that will help you guys dealing with the cravings. And that is all for this week's video clip. And I will see you in the next Monday series.